pretty much as normal. Like many parishes up and down the country, we decided to celebrate the Millennium by organising special events and producing celebratory and commemorative items relating to the village. Paul Harper, the chair of our Millennium project, tells us what was done and just how it was achieved.
Well, the Millennium project was started really when the parish council called a meeting in the village hall in July 1998 of groups of people who represented various interests within the Rewishton, Thornfalcon and Henlade. I went along with a fellow church warden and representing the church really, and at this meeting, to be honest, I don't think there were an awful lot of suggestions made. They seemed to be struggling to think, what can we do? So I said, well, I would get together one or two people who I knew lived in the village and might be interested in doing something. And I just thought initially we'd have a little meeting with two or three of us and see what ideas we came up with. And so that's what we did. Originally there were just three of us that met, and then we came up with the idea of a book, video and a calendar. From that we then said, well, now if we're going to do this, who else do we need to invite? And we sort of held an open meeting, as it were, later in 1998, and then the whole thing has gradually gone on from there really. It's really a village activity that has taken off, or was able to take place, particularly the launch and the exhibition and all that in the weekend in March this year. It took off because local people were willing to support it and back it, and my role was simply to be the sort of coordinating various, trying to delegate as much of the work as possible and just keep the thing pulling together so that everybody was informed. So that's how it started and has gone on from there. And of course, in some ways I'd anticipated it would all be finished by now, but like all these things, it's not quite as simple as it turned out as one might think. We had the weekend, sort of Millennium weekend in March, when Tom Maybury came as our guest speaker and showed slides and talked about the history of the area. The school children did a presentation on that evening about the future, how they saw the future, etc., as children, the new millennium and all the rest of it. And that was a very successful evening. The village hall was packed. And then we had that was on the Friday evening, and then on the Saturday and the Sunday each day we had this exhibition on of various things. Russell Gombe, for instance, brought his wildlife project down. Judith Jelks brought a lot of her pictures down that she'd taken over the years, as slides and that sort of thing. And any kind of memorabilia and stuff like that was all on show. We had the website, which was we were very glad to have that, because we felt in lots of ways that represented that was a kind of the future, the way things developing. But it was a successful weekend, and that was when we launched the publication of the book and all the rest of it. We've sold now of the book about 315, something like that. On Friday we were at Rewishton Court, and we gave all the residents and staff there copies of the book. Day nursery and also the preschool playgroup, they've had the books as well. We were very lucky in the sense that a lady from Creech St Michael called Gwyneth Bryant, who was dab hand at this sort of thing, took on the actual publication of the book, and we set a deadline by which we wanted material, and people were asked to submit material, which they did, but then it all had to be sorted out, scanned into the pictures, scanned and all that sort of thing, and what order we were going to have them in the book and all that sort of thing. With the calendar it's proved a bit more difficult to do, so much so now we've had to put the calendar back to be a calendar for 2002 rather than 2001 as we originally hoped. So that will go ahead, but it just means the final completion of the project, if one could put it that way, won't be until about March 2002, which is from July 98 to 2002 is rather longer than one had thought. Yes, I think we have learnt things about Rewishton and Thornfalcon and Henlade. Perhaps we haven't included quite as much as hen laid as we ought to have done. One or two people have commented, that there's not enough about hen laid, so I don't know if we can do anything about that, but if we have disappointed, then I'm sorry that we have.